This ain't no audiobook. This ain't a radio play. This is a Happy Cloud AudioToon. It's that time again for the Further Adventures of Rune, Return of the Meggans, brought to you by Happy Cloud Media and Chrome Toothpaste. Chapter 42, The Delirium Tremens, Lido Deck. Having lost sight of our objectives, we redoubled our efforts. I was within a hair's breadth of the last opportunity for a prenouncement, and I found with humiliatude that probably I would have nothing to say. This is the reason why I affirm that Kurtz was a remarkable man. He had something to say. He said it. He had it summed up. He had it judged. You want to cut down air pollution? Cut down the original source. Breathing. Simple. It's the little things that smooths people's roads the most. Absolutely. The Vampire's Delirium Tremens was a majestic twin-wheel steamer, the finest on the Goramorokai. It had accommodations for 50 passengers with mortal needs, and a hold for thrice that in coffin space. The windows had a necro-tint glazing that protected the vampires from the deadly rays of alb. The kitchens were outfitted with the finest mortal volunteers for 25-hour service. It had been traveling carefree up and down the river for almost 100 fleens under the Honorable Captain George R.R. Murgatroyd. Murgatroyd was a tall, upstanding rodent of round ears and cheerful disposition, known to his friends on shore as Steamboat William. He whistled endlessly at the wheel, and this tuneless tune pierced the air and woke Rune from his unconsciousness. In truth, his recuperative rest had already been interrupted by the Gax and Kurtz, both ugly crying to the end of "You've got cholera." Spoiler. Melanie Griffin and Tom Yax both die. With this headache eased to a dull throb, and seeking freedom from the grotesque display of emotion, Rune opted to tempt fate and move about the cabin. Pausing at the doorway, Rune heard young Crawford stir in his sleep. His injuries must have been severe, wrapped as he was nearly head to toe in bandages. On the other hand, vampires concerned themselves more with the removal of blood than its retention, so it was possible they just went a little overboard with the gauze. Crawford moaned again and opened his eyes, fixed them on Rune. He had a dream, and it shot him. Rune nodded. I'm gonna see about getting your morphia increased.
Trademark.
He climbed the spiral staircase to the upper decks. 3 moons, Vaughn, Jones, and B6, were high and full in the sky above the river, typical for the early month of Zonpenary. The Delirium Tremens had dropped anchor for the night, passed on this side and that by single-rower fishing boats, seeking the fish leaping at the mosquitoes in the cooling night. Since these fish were red herrings, Rune felt obliged to ignore them. Heading towards the sound of laughter and cheering, Rune made his way to the Lido deck, passing couples gothing around and playing grab-ass, giggling like kids centuries younger. Debauchery was a restorative no matter the species. Quickly deciding the noise had reached lethal levels, Rune snagged the beer from a passing waitress, her neck blooming with fresh bite wounds, and made his way towards the bow. Drinking, watching the bugs and the fish, Rune breathed in deep the night air. He smelled Chet coming up behind him, the vampire's cologne a combination of body spray and entitlement, and just a touch of mortal waitress. Chet, said Rune in greeting. Rufus, the vampire slurred. Rune started to correct him, then decided he didn't care. He took another glug from his bottle. We'll wait at dawn get you to the Jellicose encampment up the river, said Chet, casual and officious at the same time. They can provide you with a raft or something to get you back on your way. You're not far from Nizentos. If the river wasn't so deep, you could walk from here. And in case you were worried, sir, we have no plans to eat your friends. The Jellicos were apparently acquainted with that humanish one and vowed to take them both to their hospitals. I wasn't worried. You don't subscribe to the anti-vampire propaganda. I've seen the pamphlets. Ugly things, Rune agreed. So you sussed our direction? Grimfoyle's power has been growing stronger. It was only a matter of time he faced opposition. Chet took a sip of champagne, maybe, hopefully, from his goblet. Where do you land on the conflict? Me personally, or vampires? Either. Both. Chet shrugged. As far as we're concerned, it doesn't matter. Grimfoyle is a necromancer. If he succeeds, he plunges Trogdine into darkness, increases our food supply. If you lot win, the world continues to turn, sans apocalypse, and our food supply remains exactly the same. Chet smiled a little guiltily. Either way, the ship makes it from one end of the river to the other and back again, as it has done so for 100 fleens. Rune had to admire the pragmatism. It was an attitude he'd encountered before and after 2 civil wars, endless border skirmishes, countless coups. As long as their needs were met, few people cared who was in charge. If their needs went unmet, whoever was in charge was to blame. There was no other debate. Say! At least a single sheet to the wind. Chet grinned evilly at Rune and poked a 2-long finger at the wolf's chest. You the guy dallying with the death goddess? It's the same with you, isn't it? I don't follow. No matter what happens, you're covered, right? You lose, you spend your afterlife with your ladylove in what I'm assuming is some opulent palace surrounded by worshippers. Yeah, it's not bad. And if you win, you succeed in destroying Grimfoyle and all his evil, what do you get? Power, glory, riches, fame, rest of your life lived in an opulent palace surrounded by worshippers. It's nice, but it still needs some TLC before it's, market-worthy again. My point remains, as far as you go, Rufus the Angry, it's a win-win. If I win, so does Knees and Toes. So does the rest of Guilford. Maybe even the whole of Trugdine. Undoubtedly, Chet drained his goblet. From your point of view. OMG, is that Sonya Blue? You get over here, you trollop. Then Rune was alone again on the bow of the Lido deck. Another brick added to his wall of existential doubt. Chapter 43. Jellicosica. Nothing has changed, said Rune to the Gax at daybreak. We stick to the plan. Frontal assault on Eisenthos. Whatever you say, boss, said the Gax. He yawned. He and Kurtz had stayed up all night and only finished the sickening just before sunrise. Dumb decision. He wasn't a college Gax anymore. He needed his beauty sleep. As the vampires had retired to their coffins, Rune, Kurtz, and the Gax departed the Delirium Tremens without escort or fanfare. A small squad of Contrajellicos met the steamship at the dock and confirmed that the Anarchic Collective would see to the care of Nebuchadnezzar Jim and Crawford. They had readied a sturdy craft so Rune and the Gax could resume their mission. The Willard Marlowe was barely more than a pontoon raft. It boasted a weak motor with a pole oar to compensate. During the busy season, it was used to tow barges upriver, delivering steamship paddle wheels to the shipping yards in Holt. Its pilot was an alligator named Albert, who chomped a cigar and pondered the profit losses. The Contrajellicos had stocked it with enough food and water to cover the remaining leg of the journey. We have no spare weapons, explained Kurtz, slightly guilty. Our heavy guns are trained on the border. That's where our archers are as well. Light infantry has the morning off for Sandra's birthday. Everybody loves Sandra, scoffed a Contrajellicos in a sheep-shaped helmet. Get over it, Bruce, said Kurtz. Rune nodded. Don't apologize. Hold that border and we'll do the rest. Kurtz turned to him. These people have been fighting Grimfoyle's redcaps since the Second Cornelian War. They were begging for assistance long before I came along. Truth? Asked the Gax. Kurtz nodded. Wasn't until he started taking over the Bolognium mines that anyone in charge even seemed to care, and after the money exchanged hands, Rune nodded. Another familiar story. From the outsider's standpoint, Grimfoyle was nothing but another industrial terrorist, merely destroying the environment, gleefully ignored by the rest of the world so long as a profit was turned. From the point of view of industry, the Contrajellicos were the villains, the unwashed heathens charging against progress. Everyone had their own point of view, and everybody was right. You're right. That's what the Redcaps whisper. So said Link, the prisoner of Zelda. How addictive, Rune thought. The final confrontation, from Grimfoyle's point of view, should amount to his fall from hubris, destroyed by his own army, led by the very general he'd recruited based on a misplaced belief in the general's ego. But Rune had encountered Weaselface countless times in his past, and if one thing remained consistent, Grimfoyle was incapable of that level of self-reflection. Farewell, said Kurtz, and take heed, the path up the river is treacherous, and the destination, suicide. You bet. Kurtz leaned down from the dock in confidence, and I'm going to try that I bleed for you trick. I have to stand a post later, and I'm certain I'm going to get splinters. Best of luck! Hope you're not anemic. The engine coughed, sputtered, cursed in flourish, then finally caught. Rune and the Gax resumed their travel to Eisenthos Tower. Dozing at the stern, Rune was awakened by the great narrator. Hey, said the great narrator. I need to tell you something. I'm already sleeping. I don't need you to tell me that I'm sleeping. Blurg off. I was just with Grimfoyle. He knows you're coming. Rune opened his eyes, stared up at the sky to where he presumed the great narrator hung out. That's the plan. He's doubled his forces, said the great narrator with no little amount of concern. To the woods in the Wents, to the hills in the East. The walls of Eisenthos are 5 deep with archers. He can see you coming, and he vows to destroy you. Rune stretched and yawned and curled up in a ball. Good. He has me where he wants me. Soon, Rune was asleep again. The Gax, who'd heard the entire thing, Gaxes being in tune with all voices of the universe, the great narrator no exception, suddenly worried if the boss's death wish was going to become a reality. More than one fleen later, on his 43rd birthday, Kurtz got several paper cuts while opening his cards. To the horror of the Contrajellicos, their god began to bleed. And 15 minutes later, his arteries empty, Kurtz the god died upon his throne. Did we even try first aid? Asked Gary. God damn it, Gary, said Sandra. Because everybody loved Sandra. Thus concludes this episode of the Further Adventures of Rune. Tune in next week via your favorite audio delivery system. Don't forget, full episodes and super mega chunks are available on Patreon. But you knew that already.